Pursuing the Long Count, Episode 12. We're in the last section of this comic book, and in the last pages of most comics, there's a little letter from the editor discussing things that have happened during that publication, or things that have happened in the community that he wanted to share. So that's what this is, and there's also a little section, informational section here. So this is news from the ball court being the central meeting place for the community of a Mayan village or temple complex. So this letter is from Patrick Bartmus, me, the author of Rain God Returns, and I decided to call all the people who read this comic book chalksters, because that's what Stanley, I think it was Stanley, he just kind of made up words that to draw people in together. So hopefully you don't mind being called a chalkster. So I'm going to read it. Oh yeah, and also I've adopted the folksy style of Stanley. Well, you made it through to the end of the second issue, and I bet you're just itching to read the next one. If you're like me, stories about ancient people raise more questions than they answer, and it feels like the authors are just scratching the surface of the issues that really interest me. I hope these last few pages help to fill in some of the gaps. One of the things I wish I could have covered in more depth was what it actually felt like to live out there in the hot, humid forest without any bug spray. I tried drawing little beads of sweat on everybody, but it just didn't look right. It distracted from the rest of the stuff I wanted to include. Man, it's hard being a comic book writer. There's so much stuff I wanted to include in each little frame, and I just couldn't. I reckon the reason why I try so hard is because I've learned so much about the development of civilization in Mesoamerica that I have a deep respect for the ancient people and their current day ancestors. I have had to make some stuff up just to make the story flow the way I wanted to, but it wasn't out of a desire to lampoon or characterize anyone. It's just this driving curiosity about how things got to be they are. I use my imagination to invent some explanations and my vast intellect to learn others. I guess it's up to you to sort it out, which is which. See you next time. So these are images that I drew. I copied them, but these are actual photographs. This is a stelae from Copan, made probably around 500 CE, and it looks like this warrior is submerged in and staring out at us from the primeval forest. It's one of the images that inspired me to read more about the Maya. I hope you find this image somewhere on the internet, because it's amazing to see close-up images of this stone sculpture. And this one too. This ancient king is represented to be emerging from the underworld, is what people think nowadays. And look at the twisting zoomorphic forms that surround him. It's truly awe-inspiring. I am inspired when I look at this. Look at that fella. He's emerging from the underworld. That's just, and look, see, there's sort of a hood or I don't know, maybe it's the jaws of a creature. I don't know. There's really amazing things in this. Look this up on the internet. Over here, I wanted to include just a short thing about the Olmec. Nobody knows, I'll read this. Nobody knows what the people of the Gulf Coast lowlands called themselves. 2 millennia after this culture disappeared, the Aztecs named them Olmec, which means rubber people. This refers to the practice of extracting latex from a rubber tree. The juice of a local vine was then mixed to create this latex to create rubber, starting in about 1600 BC. So the Olmec were the people who carved these giant heads that the ancient Maya found in their forests. So there's an older culture than the people that I'm trying to depict here that left even less. So these are like, I don't know, I designed them like little ads, I guess. So this says, it's like a little poem. Kaban sanctifies the earth. Kaban venerates all life on earth. I am patient. I am observant. I am flexible. I feel destiny unfolding within me. So this is a little charm. Movement, transition, synchronization. And here's another Olmec head. I'm going to read this. This probably says exactly what I just said. But people started building civilization in the Yucatan Peninsula around 2500 BC. And eventually it became centered on the Gulf Coast around the Bay of Campeche. The most distinctive remnants of their culture are the 10-foot tall stone heads that archaeologists found in that area. But they have recently found hieroglyphic writing that came from that era. Until then, we almost had nothing but some earthworks and the big heads and some small figurines to even indicate that there were people residing in Yucatan before the Maya. Now we are guessing that this was a sort of cradle of civilization for the Central Americas. Some of the same lines along the same lines as concurrent Egyptian, Chinese, and Indian civilizations. This culture, however, occupied a small area geographically and only lasted a couple millennia at the most. There are only 17 heads, and they're all made of the same basaltic stone that is similar to boulders on one nearby mountain. Archaeologists suggest that they are actually portraits of specific rulers, and certainly only a wealthy, powerful person could harness the manpower and to transport and carve such huge pieces. Perhaps nobility is somehow symbolized by this fleshy appearance. They're all kind of chunky, aren't they? There are indications that they are also plastered and painted, so I imagine that they are quite impressive, sitting against a throne or a building, especially with those giant eyes. Can you imagine these eyes painted? These things are huge. Giant eyes. Like that eye is probably as big as my head. Yeah. Truly awe-inspiring. Okay, so here is the back cover. I showed you the front cover, didn't I? That's the front cover. That's the back cover. And just as most comics had a little letter from the editor, they also had a little thing in the back that you could cut out and send in to get a prize. So this is a match glyphs game. So what you do is you take this glyph and it's got a number 1 by it, and you match it to this word list. And if you get it all right, then you get a prize. And here's a picture of 2 little kids. One of them says, "I am yet a child, yet the mysteries of the ancients inspire me to fulfill all my dreams." And this one says, "One day I will explore the void of the unknown and fabricate stories based upon my journey." These are children to emulate. Now, what does this say up here? I'm going to have to get real close because I can't even see it. Oh, yeah. It says up here that your prize is the wealth of knowledge. So, joke's on you. And you have to send $3 in too. But here's a little tip that I include in here. Don't cut this out. Photocopy it and fill it out, or photocopy it and enlarge it and fill it out. That way, because I always had trouble. I mean, most of the little coupons that I filled out as a kid were really tiny, and I could not fill out my whole name. My name is Patrick Bartmus. That's a long name. And most of these were like a quarter of the size. Like, I'm supposed to put my name on this? That's how I knew it was a scam. So, when you fill this out, I will tell you if you've won a prize, And if you did, it says you will also receive a special one-of-a-kind piece of art made by me. It may be related to these comics, and it may not, depending on supplies. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, especially if you live across the ocean. So that's the exciting thing that you can look forward to when you purchase this comic. And obviously, I mean, I'm doing this because it's fun, but also I want to sell these, so it's kind of an advertisement for the comic. But we've reached the end of this issue. There are 2 more, and I will read them out loud to you on the internet presently. Thank you for your continued attention.